I don't think entirely, although I have to say these are very good numbers. I can understand that investors are very pleased after that disappointing slowdown last quarter. So the growth is looking very good there. The operating numbers do not look as good, and I think the bear problem for them is where is the profit going to come from in streaming? Now, I totally understand that Disney needs to get the share. They've got to pump out that product. But you did see the very, very significant decline in operating earnings, even with that growth in revenue. And I think that's a question that is still hanging out over not just Disney, but the whole streaming segment.
Yeah, and I think that's a question particularly for investors, Alex, as this story sort of transitions from, the reliable Disney that so many people hold to the streaming service with a higher multiple. Where does the profitability come from on this service?
Yeah, and it will get even more intense. You heard Bob Chapek tell Julia Boorstin that ESPN plans on bidding for NFL Sunday Ticket. That will cost billions of dollars. That's not really a surprise that they plan on bidding on it. But if in fact they do, again, that sort of changes the economics around their streaming service in terms of what are they going to charge for ESPN Plus? Do they need to charge more for that? And then do they decide that this entire system that they've built their company on over the past 2 years with 3 different streaming services, Hulu, Disney Plus, and ESPN Plus, does that still make sense moving forward that they want these 3 different products, or will they merge them all into one? Of course, you can buy the bundle right now, but it may make sense long term from an economic standpoint that they have a product where they just kind of throw all their content in one. These will be a number of different questions that Bob Chapek will have to answer now that Bob Iger is no longer with the company.
Alex, do they get any credit for being a metaverse stock? He didn't give Julia much on that, she asked, and there are people who question that. Just said that they're well positioned. What do we expect on that front? Because metaverse has been hot with investors, although not so much with Facebook lately.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you, Sarah. I'm not 100% sure what he's talking about, Bob Chapek is, in terms of metaverse yet. I mean, he's thrown the word around, but he seemed to describe it to Julia as sort of a combination of the physical and the virtual world. I don't really know what that means. So until Disney kind of spells out what exactly they mean by metaverse, I don't think investors are going to give him any credit for it. That's kind of a broader theme even beyond Disney. I just don't know that we're there yet in terms of sort of a universal definition of metaverse. If we are, someone should tell me because I'm confused.
He said it was a combination of the physical world and the digital world, and it was the third dimension of its creators. And those are all terms, by the way, Jim, that he used to describe the metaverse when Julia talked to him 3 months ago. So I don't know how much more it's formed. But back to the actual business that is here and now. Is this a growth stock?
The real world.
Yeah, the real world. Is this a growth stock, Jim? I mean, I think that's sort of the question at this point. He's talking about bidding for sports rights. They're talking about streaming. All these different things. Throw metaverse in there. Is this a growth stock?
I mean, they seem to be tackling 3 spending arms races at once. Number one is streaming programming, billions and billions of dollars that's going to cost it. Number 2, sports programming. You've got Amazon talking about muscling into that area more. You've got Apple Plus talking about it. I mean, you want to go into a spending war with Amazon and Apple? I mean, 2 of the biggest market cap companies on the planet. And then now we have the metaverse thing. And who do we have in metaverse? You've got Meta/Facebook, and now you have Microsoft with a huge investment in that area with incredible financial resources. Do you want to compete on all these fronts at once? I think that's a really high-risk strategy. Frankly, if I was Disney, I'd like to see them concentrate on what they do best, which is the streaming, is the content. They've got the brands, they've got the franchises, they know how to do that. I would try to kill that. How they defend ESPN, though, is a very significant question. Again, the numbers this quarter on linear networks, they don't look that great. Flat revenues, declining profit again. The cable model, I think, is really at risk there. And I think those are long-term issues that the company is going to have to address.
Skeptical Jim Stewart. As always, thank you, and our thanks to Alex Sherman as well.